As I say, we've got 10 new tracks on the playlist tonight. Sal's here today. Now Sal Bashir is here. Now it's let's have a chat actually before we start. Then I think, Sal, because obviously we know each other because I've seen you play live or sing live and entertain everybody at various locations. And so let's start with. I know we've had, ironically, a tribute act just before you came in on the last show, ELO Encounter. So it's really quite ironic that this is sort of fallen in place, really. So let's start with initially, because when I started the show, I said that impersonator, and then by chance, and as soon as I said it, I thought that's wrong, and it's tribute act. That's what you do, because you do other things. You don't just do the Elvis. You do various other impersonations, if you like, or tributes too. And so, how did it all start up?
That's right. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me at Loxelys Colne. I'm very privileged to be here. Finally got here in one piece after a long journey from Barking in Essex, but that's another story. Yes, I absolutely immersed myself in rock and roll music, and quite right, I'm not just an Elvis tribute artist. I paid tribute to a lot of other singers as well, because when I first started out in the business, I used to do a lot of karaoke and cabaret and DJ stuff. And when I was singing, I used to just pick on any songs that I used to hear as a child. So I would start off on something like Hound Dog by Elvis, and then I might do something like Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison, Bebop Balula by Gene Vincent, Summertime Blues by Eddie Cochran, and then go to the Beatles and do stuff by the Beatles like I Want to Hold Your Hand or I Feel Fine. And then even a couple of the tracks from the later years, from the Kinks and the Rolling Stones, and even a bit of Shakin' Stevens, of recent times. So I do love my rock and roll music, but for me it has to have those happy chords, and it has to appeal to me. So I'm kind of stuck in. I'm a rocker right to the bone, as I say.
So the transition then from doing, because the karaoke is launched a lot of people, because I think it's like the open mic is to karaoke. They're the two platforms that got people going and out and doing live performances. So what made you then? Because obviously going to do karaoke is one thing, but then to do a whole show from just doing 2 or 3 songs, because you only just get warmed up when you do karaoke. You do 2 songs and then it's someone else's turn.
That's right.
And so on. Or in fact, you only get 1 song and then you have to wait your turn and go round and round again. So, so you obviously then decided, got the bug to going out and doing a full performance, a full night. So, what was the first choice on the list to doing a tribute? Who did you choose first?
Well, the very first song that I ever sang at a karaoke, coincidentally, was Roy Orbison's "Pretty Woman," because I felt that the vocals suited me, and I didn't have to try too hard to reach the notes and stay on the key to that particular song. It suited my vocal DNA makeup, so to speak. But what I'd done was I migrated from just doing karaoke, because as you quite rightly said, you just do one song and then you have to wait 20-30 minutes for another one. So I had some friends who were already out there on a circuit with their own equipment, and they approached me to go and join them, said, would you like to do your own show? So I borrowed or loaned the equipment off them, and I managed to get a few gigs in East London in the working men's clubs and the pubs, which was quite a baptism of fire.
It is.
That's where I learnt my apprenticeship, and I tell you what, I will never ever forget those times. I'm very, very grateful, because it teaches you an awful lot about stage persona. It teaches you an awful lot about these. Sometimes you go into go to a show and people are sitting on their hands and they're actually saying, come on, entertain me, but I'm not going to give you a clap afterwards because I'm going to see what you are like between the songs. So you develop a style of talking, a style of entertaining between the songs and keeping the momentum going, because nothing's worse than having a pregnant pause between the songs. So I developed my show and developed my own unique style in the pubs and working men's clubs. And I started to do a lot more of the cabaret side of things. And then what I'd done was I left the karaoke side alone, and then got a show together, which was basically a throw-together rock and roll show. I chucked all these songs in that I loved, and I would just pick out the songs that I felt like doing on the night wherever I was. And then it took me a good few years to develop the backbone of a show. So if I'm doing an Elvis show, I'll have it in parts 1 and 2. I'll generally start with the 50s, and then in part 2 I'll start during the 70s or the latter half of Elvis's career. If it's the Rock or Sal show, then I start off with a bit of Elvis, and then in the second half I jump from that to the 50s and 60s, which is Beatles, Kinks, Rolling Stones, Buddy Holly, Billy Fury, Cliffy. There's loads of singers in, and Roy Orbison, and I will try and mimic the artists as close as I possibly can.
That's a large catalogue as well, isn't it? That's a huge catalogue of music you've got.
I've got hundreds of songs that I've learnt off by heart, but please don't ever ask me to learn a brand new song, because I've got a brain like a tea strainer. Right. It's terrible. I've done a bit of acting. It was really hard to even say good morning in the script, because I felt like saying, I can't remember even good morning. I just cannot remember lines.
There is a big thing about that. I can remember, I used to do a lot of musical direction years ago in theatre, and then most of it would be certainly to do with vocals and things. And I do remember we had in Al Capone, there was a scene where the St. Valentine's Day massacre was happening. And the idea was that his alibi, Al Capone's alibi, was that he was at home listening to opera. So we had this guy booked to do this opera, one song, Celeste Verdi Aida. And 3 weeks before the show, he dropped out. Now, I'd been playing the piano, playing various bits and pieces with him, and right to the very point to getting ready to do full stage rehearsals. And he dropped out. So I said, oh, gosh, so the only way to do it was for me to sing it. So I then had to drop the key a bit, because I couldn't quite sing as high as it was. But then and it was fine. I was very excited about that. I was going to grow my hair, get all the beard on and everything else. And then just as I was about to do that, they said, oh, yes, and don't forget the 2 lines you've got to do at the end.
Oh.
And and I can remember thinking, I can't do this. I can't do that. It's only 2 lines. So there is a big difference, a crossover between doing what you do out on the singing, out on the, the vibe, if you're doing that, and then suddenly having to do acting. 2 different scores.
Well, there's a few actors that did migrate very successfully to the acting profession and treading the boards, and that was Frank Sinatra, Class A actor and first-class singer, and to another extent was, probably even better was Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin as well. Yep. Elvis, well, all I will say is that Hollywood used his films as a money-making machine, as a cash cow, because they all made money. Every single film that Elvis ever made lots of money, but he felt very, very slighted by Hollywood, because it looked like they siphoned off all the profits to make things like Ocean's 11 with Sinatra. They siphoned off money to make things like The Godfather. They got the money from Elvis, really, because I'm not saying specifically those movies, but a lot of the successful movies in the 60s, which were made by the same studios as Elvis's films were, they knew that they could get an Elvis film out there, make a lot of profit out of it, and then take that money and put it towards a big blockbuster starring. He was
never happy though, was he? I always remember seeing.
He wasn't happy, no.
No, doing those films. I know that he did a very good job. I have to say, to be honest, and I really enjoyed them when I was a youngster.
Because you said you first saw...
That was the first thing I saw. Yeah, the first thing I saw on Elvis. I didn't hear Elvis. The first thing I saw Elvis, and that was in movies as a youngster, and I found that fascinating. And then obviously it was a bit like the Grand Prix, why were the cars the same colour as the cigarettes? I didn't understand that as a child.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing. When I heard the voices on the radio for the first time as a young boy, I thought, oh gosh, someone's actually doing Elvis songs.
Well, his personal favourite movie was King Creole, and that role was meant for the late, great James Dean. But obviously James Dean just perished in a very unfortunate car accident. And... so they needed somebody to fulfil the lead role of Danny Fisher. So they got this unknown, untested actor who'd just done Loving You and Love Me Tender, but he wasn't a proven commodity at that time. And to put him in a role which was meant for James Dean, then that particular film had a very strong cast with it as well. Caroline Jones and Vic Morrow. Walter Matthau was in that film too. So it was a very... important film for Elvis, and he did just a fantastic job, and the soundtrack was fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and you could see where Elvis could have gone from there. But then later on in the 60s they had him dressed up in a scuba diving kit, singing to dogs, and then singing to the men he'd just beaten up.
I know that. Well, actually, I thought
pretty sad. Really,
I look back now and I think they were the first music videos to me. I look at some of the, because they were kind of like sunny spells and things and bright colours and things, and it wasn't actually a true film, if you like. I know probably people might condemn me for saying that, but actually I thought it was a more music related video. I couldn't wait to get to the song, etc. Anyway, look, tell you what we'll do. We'll play a couple of tracks, otherwise we won't have a playlist. And we've got lots to talk about, I can tell.
Fabulous.
And we're certainly going to do some performances. You're going to sing a couple of songs for us as well.
I'd be privileged to.
That'd be fantastic. Right. Okay, this is Memory Flowers, a track called Atoms, and then I've got some new ones from the playlist, and I'll get back to you in a second. Etc. You're saying that, well, I say that I don't actually enjoy the recording part as much as I used to, because it's so technically involved and you can get engrossed with it. And
I haven't recorded for a very long time, and as you know, on stage you can pretty much bend, massage, and play around with the sounds, and you can get away with a lot more live in the audience. But the studio is very unforgiving. And what I mean by that is that you've really got to make sure that you're really on the money with whether you're playing the guitar, bass, drums, and the singing, and using your voice as an instrument. You can't get away with any duff notes.
No,
you can't really, because I wouldn't dream of vocal correctors or auto tunes or things like that. And I'm not a great lover of splicing songs to make one good track either. I like the old-fashioned way of the way Elvis recorded. A take. Take how many takes it takes. You pick the one that you feel comfortable with, and then you listen to it a few hours later and see if it's same.
It is very interesting because it serves two purposes when you're doing recordings, and we've had many conversations with various people who've been on the show about how they go about it. Vocaling, in fact, is, for me, it's my best instrument, if you like, regardless of anything else I do. And I'm obsessed with it. And initially, I'll sing a dozen tracks. And then the downside of that is, and I never used to have that flexibility years ago because it was all on a tape machine. And so you'd run out of tracks very quickly, especially if you had live drums, etc. So the downside is that you end up with, say, a dozen tracks, you can't listen to them all, and you like bits off another. And then the splicing, as you say, comes into it. You think, I like that bit, I like that bit. And in the end, what I do is, if I do that, I then splice that together, put it to a track, and then listen to it constantly, and then go and perform it as a whole thing. So generally, yes, I do prefer to go from A to B, from start to finish of a song, and do a track as it is. But
with the band playing, it's nice when you can say, well, I played a nice solo on the piano on that particular part of the song. You can use all that, and that's pretty acceptable. That's pretty understandable, even. As a singer, I always try to strive for the best results in that take. And I'm one of those people who gets very disappointed if I can't do a song and to the standards that I know that I'm capable of in one take.
The environmental is very different as well. In a live performance, as you say, the moment is lost, whatever happens. And as you say, you can bend it in the air with the reverb or whatever it is you do. You can do something that can bring it back, and it can just be made as if it was actually put there on purpose. But with recorded performance, it's all very different, as you say, because that's going to be played 100 times, you'd hope anyway, by some person who buys that CD. So, the live performance are very, very different. And
we mentioned the recording techniques, didn't we? We spoke off air about that and the advancements into the way recording is done now. In the old days, as you mentioned, the tape and working on different sort of formats and running that tape is very expensive and very labour intensive procedure in those days. But now you can get a small digital recorder, as we spoke about earlier on, and record straight into a laptop or another hard drive. And there's so many things now that you can use you can even just record on a phone.
We're spoiled, and the quality is good, and the quality is very good.
Fantastic.
I'm not a big fan, actually. I know that we talked about this when they do this live thing they do on Facebook now, because generally it sounds much better at the gig, and so when you do
the live feed,
and it's some of it I think, oh no, don't put that up, please.
Yes,
because it's when you hear it, you go, oh, it's not as good as I want it to be. So that's but it's a good thing, it's a good promotional thing, but not necessarily what I enjoy as much.
I don't quite like some of the live feeds, because that's, to me, it's a bit of a wobbler. I prefer to try and say, well, look, just record it on your phone and then send
keep
it
to
to me and keep it to yourself.
No, but actually some of them, they're getting better.
Well.
They are getting better. The quality of sound is getting better, and even Saturday night, actually, funny enough, with the Police Tribute Band. Summoner's Tales. Thank you very much. There's the recordings that were taken there by Bex Allen Pugh. Actually, she did some, and they were pretty cool. Actually, they sounded pretty good. So it's quite nice, really, in a way. But yeah, nevertheless, we are spoilt, really, quite frankly, with all the recording equipment we can buy.
Yeah, all the equipment that's available.
And we want more and more and more all the time, as far as I can see. Right, okay, so let's just talk a little bit about your background, because obviously, firstly, where you're from and your family, etc., because that would be good for visually, because obviously that's one of the key things, obviously, initially to start with.
Well, culturally, my family and my roots from Pakistan, so we're all Muslims, and my father came over here in the early 60s, what was then the Commonwealth countries, to work here. So there was already a job lined up for my father when he came here, and my dad worked his fingers to the bone to the day he retired with one company, which was Ford Motor Company. Now, when he came over here, then he brought my older brother, who was born over there, my older sister, but I was born over here. And we grew up in Canning Town. Now, Canning Town is steeped in rock and roll history because the famous Bridge House was just up the road to us, and all the pubs were playing, had live music, had live bands. And across the road to us, I forgot the name of the pub now, across the road from my house, they had a jukebox blaring out most nights, and that was my first recollection of rock and roll music. And it was so different from hearing Hindi and Punjabi music in my house, but I enjoyed what I heard across the road.
So did your parents encourage you this? Because this is an interesting thing. So you had Hindi music in your house, but then obviously you're listening to rock and roll. Quite a defined difference, I have to say.
Big difference.
So did they enjoy that? Did they? Was it an open house for that, or was it quite strict with regards to music and what you could listen to?
No, it wasn't strict at all. I think my parents, when they came over here, very soon afterwards, we had the biggest banging popular music since Elvis, which was the Beatles. So my parents grew up in the swinging 60s over here, and all you heard was Herman Hermits, and you had the Beatles and the Stones and the Kinks and the other bands. So the airwaves was full of this type of music on the then two, 3 channels that we had. So my parents were well aware of this music, and they knew the music was playing across the road in these jukeboxes. They didn't realise what a profound impact it would have on myself, especially later on in life when I made it a profession. So that was my first recollections, and there were no barriers, there were no restrictions. My parents just wanted me to be happy and to have a good education and to work hard. And you know, in this business, I don't believe that you're lucky. You got to create your own luck. And I think if you bang on the door hard enough, on the window of opportunity or the door of opportunity, eventually it will open. But you've got to work very, very hard, and you must not stop just because somebody said, no, you can't do this, or you're not capable of doing this. If you put your heart and soul, you can do it.
That's exactly what I was saying initially with songwriters on this show, that keep writing, don't stop writing, because that's the one thing that will keep you going. And initially, you're expected to produce a life's work after you've been signed from the first life's work. And so many people don't have that ready. So I always say keep writing, keep producing, keep doing it, no matter what.
Yeah.
It's a big part. Okay, well, we'll get back to you in a sec. What we're going to do is we're going to play a couple of tracks, actually, and then we're going to do a sound check. And Sal Bashir is a tribute artist to many of the from the 50s right up to date, in fact. Hey, right, this is a Jerry Reed track, actually, Guitar Man. I've just been told Sal is just about to produce or perform this track. And Jerry Reed wrote this and played the guitar on it originally. It's called Guitar Man. Okay, right, here we go then. Let's get cracking. Let's have some fun.
Well, I quit my job down at the car wash. I left my mama a goodbye note. By sundown, I left Kingston. I put my guitar under my coat. I hitchhiked all the way down to Memphis. Got a room at the YMCA. For the next 3 weeks, I've been a hunting nights. I've been looking for a place to play. Well, I thought my picking would set them on fire, but nobody wanted to hire a guitar man. While I never stopped to delve down to Memphis, I run out of money and luck. So I bought me a ride down to Macon, Georgia, of an overloaded poultry truck. I found on down to the Panama City, started picking out some of them all-night bars. I hoping I could make myself $1, making music on my guitar. I got the same old story from all night pigs. You know there ain't no room around here for a guitar man. We don't need a guitar man here, son. So I slept in a hobo junction. I run 1,000 miles on track till I find myself a Mobile, Alabama. Had the club they call Big Jack's. A little four-piece band was jamming, so I took my guitar and I set in. I showed them what a band would sound like. I was a swinging little guitar man. Show 'em, son. So if you ever take a trip down to the ocean and find yourself down around Mobile, make it out to a club called Jack's if you got a little time to kill. Just follow that crowd of people and you'll wind up out on his dance floor, digging the finest little five-piece groove up and down the Gulf of Mexico. I guess who's leading that five-piece band? Well, wouldn't you know it's that swinging little guitar man. Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey, what a band as well. Really like them. Okay, let's come back to Sal in a second or so. Sal Bashir singing on Colne Radio, Loxelys Corner. Thank you, band. Okay, and it's You Gave Me a Mountain, and this is a live session from Sal Bashir on Colne Radio, Loxelys Corner. Okay, far away, my friend.
I hope you enjoy this, guys.
Born in the heat of the desert, my mother died giving me life, deprived of the love of a father, blamed for the loss of his wife. You know, Lord, I've been in a prison for something that I've never done. Been one hill after another, and I climbed them all one by one. Oh, but this time, Lord, you gave me a mountain I may never climb. It isn't any longer. You gave me a mountain this time. Whoa, my woman got tired of the heartaches, tired of the grief and the strife, so tired of working for nothing, just tired of being my wife. She took my one ray of sunshine, she took my pride and my joy, she took my reason for living, she took my small baby boy. Oh, well, this time, Lord, you gave me a mountain I may never climb. And it isn't Water Hill any longer. You gave me a mountain this time. Yeah. A mountain this time, oh mountain, oh this time, oh, oh, oh.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You've got a very big band in here, I can have to tell you. All these brass instruments out in the car park there, it's amazing.
Blew away a few cobwebs.
Yes, it made the PA fall over as well, if you noticed.
I did. It was an extra drum beat that we didn't account for. It's
Yeah.
all live, and we keep all the mistakes in as well.
Very professional.
Yeah, very professional, I have to say. Fantastic.
Thank
Superb job. Okay, right. We'll come back to you in a second. Woo, and relax. Okay, telephone. Thank you for sending it in. And I played before that Reese, Lifelong Love, which I didn't read out from our playlist, so I will tell you. His basically, it's just a basic stream that he's streamed on to one of his websites, doesn't say which, Spotify in fact, sorry, 300,000 hits already on that one. And that was Lifelong before that. But as I say, you can get the whole show on Mixcloud, Loxelys Corner. Dig it up and you will find us. Right, okay. We're closing off now with the live performances from Sal Bashir on Colne Radio, Loxelys Corner. And this is a tribute to... what are we going to have him, my friend? Cause,
Well, this is the Rocker Sal show that I'm going to be doing at the Empire on the 7th of July. I keep plugging that. And this
That's
is
fine.
a medley of some of the best-loved hits of Roy Orbison from an early song and two of the late ones that he had. And it goes something like this.
Okay.
Pretty woman, walking down the street. Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet. Pretty woman, I don't believe you, you're not the truth. No one could look as good as you. Mercy. Pretty woman, won't you pardon me? Pretty woman, I couldn't help but see. Pretty woman, that you look lovely as can be. Are you lonely just like me? Proud. Every time I look into your loving eyes, I see love that money just can't buy. One look from you, I drift away. I pray that you are here to stay. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it. Anything at all, you got it, baby. I had to escape, the city was sticky and cruel. Maybe I should have called you first, but I was dying to get to you. I was dreaming when I drove the long straight road ahead. Yeah. Could taste your sweet kisses, your arms open wide. This fever for you is just burning me up inside. I drove all night to get to you. Is that alright? I drove all night, cramped in your room, pulled you from your sleep to make love to you. Is that alright? I drove all night.
And relax. Fantastic. Sorry. And the band have just put all their instruments down and off they go. That's fantastic. What a job.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Well done. And yes, well, okay, so let's finish off then with what's going on with respect to getting in touch with you if we need to find you at the moment. Facebook, I take it?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. Rocker Sal is the Twitter name, and obviously it's Sal Bashir. I nearly forgot my own name.
It's okay, I can help you out there if you like.
I'm getting old, you see, listeners, and I'm kind of losing my brains and marbles, and it has been going for some time. No, it'd be Sal Bashir on Facebook, but if they want to go through to my website, which is what I was trying to think of, it's all the W's, and that's rockersal.co.uk. And they can find out on the latest news section where I'm going to be playing. I'm playing all over the southeast and at a venue somewhere near you.
Okay, well, it would be good to see you again, because obviously now we've established a bit more of a closer relationship with regards to the performances and getting to know you as well. It'd be good to keep in touch, obviously, and do some more promotion work and everything else, but it's been thoroughly enjoyable to have you on the show. And
well, can I just say, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on your show, and it's just such a relaxed atmosphere here, and what you're doing here, promoting local bands and singers, you know, they need all the help they can get, and we need all the help that we can get as well. And what you're doing is fantastic, and it's very forward thinking, and I speak on behalf of all the aspiring young singers and bands out there that we can't thank you enough. So thank you for having me here tonight. It's a real pleasure.
We're very, very welcome. Yeah, and again, as I say, we've seen you a couple of times live, so we'll get to see you again. And I do suggest that I know this is a representation, and we do the best we can with live sound here for everyone to listen to on radio, but I do suggest you go and see this chap live. He's fantastic.
Thank you.
So Sal Bashir, look him up, Rocker Sal, and it's a tribute act. And I said impersonator, which is not very good.
That's because the simple reason is that there's I suppose the difference is that an impersonator, they will go the extra yard to try and look as much as they can and speak like him using the American accent, and they'll also use a lot of the mannerisms, all the mannerisms in a particular show that Elvis did. What I try to do is I use my own personality, my own charisma on stage, and I speak about Elvis as the artist that I'm performing songs of and promoting his music. I don't really promote my own music. I don't really promote my own recordings. I want people to go out there and buy a Gene Vincent record, go and buy a Ricky Nelson, disc, go and buy some Elvis music, because rock and roll is where it's at. It's always going to be. It's never going to die. It's always going to be there. And Elvis is at the top of a tree, and it's hard to believe it's 40 years on the 16th of August when he passed away. Can you believe that? So
it's an interesting one. I think anyone of our age would know where they were when he died. It's a bit like the Lady Diana situation.
Yes.
When there are certain people in the world that create such an icon as they do, Elvis is probably one of them. You know, that I would have been only, I think I was about 77 he died, wasn't it? 1977?
Yeah, 16th of August 1977. You're not old enough.
I am. I'm older than you, actually. Yeah. Right. Okay. So this is yes, right. Yeah. Well, let's get cracking about the background, because initially, with regards to Elvis, I mean, the only thing I've seen in respect of performances from you are some of the 50s tracks, which are the show that I saw was at a restaurant. And initially, you started the evening with 50s and 60s, and then you've finished off with more of the Elvis. Is there a preference to what you like to do?
Well, I class Elvis at the top of the tree, at the top of the food chain. I class him as the messiah of rock and roll. So it's an honour and privilege to be performing and being employed as an Elvis tribute artist, as a professional Elvis tribute artist. But it's also true to say that I love my other show, which is the one that you've just mentioned, the Rocker Sal show, and that pays tribute to some of the greatest exponents of rock and roll there ever was. People like the magical Roy Orbison, the sublime vocals of Billy Fury. We've got I've got tributes to Buddy Holly in there, dear old Buddy Holly. And
probably my favourite, actually, Buddy Holly.
Oh, Buddy Holly was just a brilliant musician.
As a songwriter as well. He was the first to do so many things that people don't realise.
Yeah.
First to use 2 guitars in a band, in a rock and roll band, believe it or not. He was the first to use orchestra in a band. I can't think of the song now. It's just going to really bug me. But yeah, sorry.
True Love Ways.
True Love Ways, yeah.
Or It Doesn't Matter Anymore.
No, True Love Ways, I think it was. And I think I just remember there's a film actually that was produced in 1979 with Buddy Holly, and it was played by... I can't think of his name.
Gary Busey.
That's right. Yes, that's the very. And that film actually, it was covered very well because it was backed from his wife, who did a lot of, sat in on the production, etc.
Yeah, Maria, her name was.
That's it. Yes, and it was a really fantastic film. Actually, a very underrated film, I thought.
I thought it was a really good film, actually. And you're quite right. He was one of the first rock and rollers, or the first rock and roller to use strings on his records. And people did sort of look and think, oh no, you can't use that on a rock and roll record. It won't sound right. But True Love Ways is just the most beautiful song. It's actually based on a gospel song called "I'll Be All Right."
Oh, really?
And I only realised that recently, and he got the tune from that particular gospel track. "I'll Be All Right."
Right. Wow, I didn't know that.
Listeners, write in if you think I'm wrong. Phone in if you think I'm incorrect.
I can guarantee you that you...
Brilliant track, absolutely brilliant track. Buddy Holly, Cliff Richard's in there, a bit of Shakin' Stevens, and I performed that all over the place. I have got a show coming up soon, if I can be bold enough to plug it.
No,
it's at the fantastic Empire Diner, just up the road in Rivenhall, and it's run by... Mark and Angela, fabulous place, which I'm going to be doing a show on the 7th of July with George Elias, one of the world's top sounding Elvis tributes, and he's going to be doing the Elvis part of the show, and I'm going to be doing what I've just mentioned, the Rock and Soul show. So I'll be doing the Roy Orbison, Buddy Holly, Billy Fury, and the Kinks, Buddy Holly, Monkeys, even the Monkeys are in there as well, and a bit of Dean Martin, Bobby Darin, they're all in there too. So that's on the 7th of July, so don't miss that.
Where's that again?
That's the Empire Diner, just outside Whittam on the A12, and that's in Rivenhall in Essex.
Okay, that'd be great. Look forward to that. And well, obviously, if you put a post up onto Loxelys Corner, and then we can post that around as well. You. So yeah, always, we always look after the artist. But no, I say I've only ever seen you in a different environment in respect to, and it's quite confined, I suppose, in a restaurant because everyone's got to eat their food first, and then
the Tandoori Villa,
the Tandoori Villa, yes.
Yeah.
Who I think we've spent a fortune in there, going in there over the last.
They like people spending fortunes in any venue, I think, as you know.
Yeah, but it does really work. And you've got that really sewn up, actually, because obviously, generally, live music in restaurants is an overhead, if you like. It's not a performance. You don't have that. And you're sweltering around the tables there, jumping about. And it works really well. I think you do a fine job.
There's no stage. As you know, in those places, the stage is actually all around the tables and chairs. And quite often, as you've seen, I do have a habit of getting up on tables and chairs and sofas, and especially in the middle of Suspicious Minds. But you bring the show to the audience because there is no stage. I'm very visual in my performances, as you know, and I like to go to the audience and bring the show to them and involve them and embroil them in the passion that I have with the music, and they obviously love rock and roll and love Elvis, so otherwise they really wouldn't be there on a cold Tuesday night in the middle of February, full house, and
it's always a sellout. Every time I've ever been, it's always been a sellout in the shows.
I'm always very flattered and ever so humbled by that, by people coming out to come and see me. It means it's not just lip service. It really means an awful lot to me because they are actually, keeping me and my family
Well, it's the best
alive.
Paycheck in the world, if you like. If someone claps and dances to a song, it's better than any handout. I think that's the key thing about doing this, is being liked as an entertainer as much as you are doing a performance. So very much so. So I see that also you've been involved in the Edinburgh Fringe. How was that?
Oh wow, I had the privilege of performing at, as you said, the Edinburgh Fringe back in 2008 it was now, all them 9 years ago, and I did about 31 shows in 31 days, because as you know what the Edinburgh Fringe is all about, there's about 3,500-4,000 shows all going on at the same time, so everybody's fighting for the action up there in Edinburgh. It's a beautiful city, lovely city, and I had, you know what it's like, it's a bit feast or famine with regards to audience numbers. I had a room that could only hold about 50, and sometimes there were 50, but sometimes there's only 4 people in the audience, and 3 of those were journalists, and thinking, who's this crazy freak that's up there in a leather suit throwing himself around like a banshee? And you've still got to perform out your skin, because you know that they are going to write a review on you.
Do you actually read all the critics' reviews? Because I mean that can be, if especially your last comment suggesting that
they were quite kind, actually. They weren't too bad. I must have done something right, because I was very very lucky, very honoured to win a Fringe award based on one of the most outstanding performers of a Fringe in 2008. So I've got that at home in my own studio, pride of place in the middle of the room. So I got a Fringe award, so I must have been doing something right back then. And I haven't been back because I've been so banged out with work here and abroad. So
that's great, though. It's working, obviously. I mean, with respect to when you started to what you're doing now, what is the intensity like? In that, when you started, you obviously did a few shows, and now you're doing it for a living, I take it.
Yes.
So it's full time. And so, how often do you gig in respect to weekly? Is it weekly, or is it constant?
Oh, it's every week. I'm out every week.
Right.
But as you say, when I was working in my previous, what I call my proper job, up in the big smoke in the big city in London, I was finishing off there, coming home, getting changed, loading up the car, and you know what it's like. You just get to the gig and then you get on with it. So something had to give, and I left my job some time ago. I've been on the road for 19 years now.
Wow.
So 20 years is obviously next year. And for me, it was just a natural progression, because I've always had rock and roll embedded into my veins. It was just blood running through my veins. It's right through to my bones. And for me to perform stuff that I really like and bring in a lot of peace and happiness and love and to the British public, it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. It's the best job in the world, and you get paid for it.
Yeah.
So I'm out about 10-15 times a month. It all depends, really. So sometimes it's a bit quiet.
With regards to that then, what about winding down then, settling down? I mean, it's away from music. What do you do? Or do you can't not? Are you a pogo stick or a tigger, as I was called?
I thought you was referring to. So what do you do what you can do when you winding down? I want to grow old disgracefully.
Okay, that's
fine. Want them kicking. I want them dragging me out, kicking and screaming, with my Shure SM58 digital microphone in my hand, and say, "That's what you're going to bury me with," because I don't want to miss out on singing in heaven. Missing out on a technicality because I didn't bring my own microphone.
And that's the short epitaph, is it?
Yes. But I when I'm indoors, I try to vocalise every day, but not overdo it with my voice. I try not to talk too loud or shout, because I have to look after it's my living. And I try and record some stuff. At the moment, I haven't been in the studio for a very long time, but I've just built a recording studio, so I'm hoping to put some tracks together. And I haven't been very long in the property I've just bought, so I'm busy trying to fix that up and do all the house up and decorating. And I do the absolute normal things: potter around in the garden, watering the plants and feeding the cat.
But it's like well, yeah. But so during the week, then obviously that's your weekend, if you like. Then is that how it works? Or
my shows can be any time, any day of the week,
okay.
And. But it's true to say I do a lot of weddings and special occasions and birthdays at the weekends. And during the week, the bread and butter of the business is usually the restaurants and some of the clubs. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll come back. We'll do another couple of live tracks.
Yeah. You're doing well.
yeah. I had an easy paper round. So
I had a dodgy pram. They all kept falling off.
And that's for another show. So anyway, fantastic.
It's been fun.
But yes, really great. Thank you very much for coming on anyway. And we will catch up again and see you live. And thank you. What a great performance. Fantastic.
God bless you.
Thank you, Sal.
Bye now.